that just give me a pen, give me paper,
Mm.
put me in a place where it's quiet, and I'll be able just to flow. Like I can write an entire book within a day, depending on how I'm flowing. To share my journey of God's goodness, His
Mm.
grace, and His mercy, to encourage people not to come down this road, and to give hope to those who are living with the virus, to let them know that it is not a death sentence. There is still life after diagnosis.
Welcome, my friends. Welcome, the Self Seeders. Welcome back to the Self Seed podcast. This is the second episode of the Virtual Book Tour, and we are talking to different authors. We are trying to look into their works. We are trying to look into their personal stories, what inspires their writing, how do they use writing as a therapeutic tool. We are trying to learn. Also, maybe we can also become writers somewhere in the future, and we are trying to seek deep to know what's the inspiration of the writing. And this is episode 27, and today I'm with Alicia. Alicia, welcome to the podcast. I
Thank
hope
you
you
so much.
feel. I like to say feel at home, but yeah, feel like you're in a podcast, a familiar
Thank you for
podcast.
having me.
You're welcome. I hope you'll enjoy, and I hope we'll get to learn a lot from you. And personally, I
Right.
think the podcast might inspire me, might educate me, might, brush up my lack of knowledge somewhere in my mind, and I become aware and more and more. And that's why I like the journey of, continuous learning so that I can learn more and more and more from many people. So yeah, dear people, remember that the Self Seed podcast is available on all major platforms. I don't know where you listen your favorite podcast from, but if Self Seed is one of those favorite podcasts, just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and so on. Just search for the Self Seed podcast, or just simply write on Google, "Oh, Self Seed podcast," and you'll get it. Or you can just visit our website www.selfseed.transistor.fm, and there you'll get to learn more, and you'll get to understand why we started the podcast and how we have gone so far. You listen to all the episodes. Welcome to today's episode. This is episode 27. Pay attention. This is episode 27, and the journey goes on. The journey goes on. The journey of learning keeps becoming better and better and better. And with the authors coming to my podcast, I am so grateful. God is good. Welcome, Alicia. Once again, welcome, Alicia Anderson, to the podcast. I hope you are already well settled. You've already buckled up, and you're ready to, drive us along this journey. Welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. First thing first, I think the listener maybe they know me. I'm Emmanuel, the host of the Self Seed podcast, but maybe they're wondering, okay, who is Alicia? What does she do? Why is she even on the podcast today? So, to those who are still wondering, maybe you can introduce yourself, share with us a thing or two about you, and later on I'll ask even more questions because I'm always a curious person and I like asking questions. So yeah, you're welcome to introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you. I am Alicia Anderson. I am the the director of Life to Rebirth, which is about restoring faith, hope, and love to tainted lives through sharing of the gospel of Jesus Christ and demonstrating his love, and through my own personal testimony of living with HIV for 17 years.
Right.
I am also a ordained minister of the gospel.
You are an ordained minister as well. Oh, I'm so delighted to have a minister in my midst. I I hope I can tap onto the grace, and I hope we can grab a thing or two from the minister today. So yeah, I'm always curious to know. One thing I'm always curious to know is why did you start writing? Because I'm having many authors on the podcast, and I guess every author has a different reason. And this is the second episode of this tour, Virtual Book Tour by Transform Global Services. I'm wondering what inspired your creativity or your passion for writing. What has been the maybe the challenges you have faced along the journey, and what has been the joyous moments? Those moments where you sit back and say, "Oh, this was so good. This is why I started writing." I'm happy today. I achieved this and so on.
What can I say? I think as early as a child, I
Mm.
just always like I love reading. I was a very avid reader. Like I remember my next door neighbor would sit me on his lap and have me reading the newspaper at a very young age. So I developed reading a whole
Yeah.
lot at a very young age, and then I just started writing like pen and paper. Like you're at school and you're taking down the homework and you're writing, and persons are asking you to write to write down theirs, and then like persons encourage me, Alicia, start journaling
Mm.
and write what you're feeling and stuff. So I started doing that. Didn't know where it was going to go until like when I went to high school.
Mm.
The guidance counselor saw my writings and she says, no, this is good, it needs to go further. And I
Right.
remember she asked me to write an article for her,
Mm.
and it was put up in the Jamaican Redcam Library,
Mm.
as an exhibition. And I think growing up, I always said I wanted to be a journalist.
Mm.
So I had a knack for the writing. Didn't know that a couple of years later, it would have been ministered to me that I was actually born to write.
That's so good.
Go ahead.
And when was this that you came to discover to the full realization that, okay, I am called to writing? I know I've always been curious to, I've always had that passion, but actually I am called to writing.
Well, to be honest with you, as I said, growing up and with the guidance counselor encouraged me, I started writing more. So whatever came to mind, I would just put it on pen and paper.
Right.
And persons were like, I like, you need to pursue this.
Mm.
But it was in like almost like 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago,
Mm.
my auntie came all the way from Austria.
Right.
And she said that the Lord says it's time to write the book. Now, I've been thinking about, with all that has happened, I need to share my story,
Mm.
put it in a book. But I procrastinated a whole lot. So when she came to Jamaica and she said, God said it's time to write the book, I was like, God, what are you doing? And that's when I got to the book
Mm.
with the pen and just started writing. And the thing, what I've learned about me
Mm.
is that just give me a pen, give me paper,
Mm.
put me in a place where it's quiet, and I'll be able just to flow. Like I can write an entire book within a day, depending on how I'm flowing.
Really? A whole
Right.
within just one day?
Within a day, yes, depending on how I'm just flowing. Once I start writing, I just start flowing.
That's
And so I
impressive.
always go ahead.
I'm saying that's impressive.
Right. I take advantage of that moment. Once I start flowing, to just keep on flowing. Because once that stops, I stop.
Hmm. That's
And I remember,
hmm.
sorry, I remember when I was in high school and I was doing CXC and I did English language. And I remember we were given like 3 different stuff to choose from.
Right.
And I know it was me, I know it was God where I took all 3. We're supposed to choose 1 out of the 3, but I chose all 3 and I made a story and I said, anybody who is marking this paper will be like, this girl is very talented.
That's super
So
good.
yes.
So
Right.
it started, as reading, you just like to read, and then later on using, the academic setting, let's say essays and so on to, sharpen that skill, and eventually
Right.
you ended up writing the book, right? This book that
Yes.
we are seeing, HIV: A Journey Through with Grace, right? I hope I got the title.
HIV.
Yeah. So it has been, a journey that you have seen growth, and maybe I don't know if somewhere you felt like you faced some challenges, but I believe a journey is not always straight. Although we might be passionate about the things that we are doing, but sometimes we face these challenges from time to time. And
Right.
what are some of the challenges that you faced as a writer, an upcoming writer, or an established writer, and how did you deal with those?
To be honest with you, like when my auntie came and told me that the Lord said it's time for you to write, as I said, got the pen, got the paper, started,
Right.
putting thoughts on the paper and stuff. And like when I was finished, like I would give it to persons just to, help me to edit this thing properly, because I know there are a lot of grammatical errors and all of that. And
Mm.
like I would give it to person, they would start and then it would not be finished, and it got really frustrating.
Right.
And then I remember it was a church sister of mine who actually, one day we were talking. I was like, oh, I'm writing a book. And she says, well, I do editing. I'm not a professional editor, but, I do editing. So she
Mm.
said she would look at it, and she worked with me for months, to put this book together. It wasn't where we wanted it to be, but it was where it was from where it was to where she brought it. It was a lot of work, and I'm forever grateful. We sent it to my leader, and he gave his critiques and stuff. And then like one day I just got so frustrated because he was like, send it to somebody else for them to go through it and stuff. And it was just back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, God, why, if you inspired me to write this book, why is there so much challenges? Why is there not a free flow? Until like I literally took up the manuscript and threw it in the bin, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not publishing this book, because people who can help you chose not to help, and I couldn't understand why until it was like 2 years ago. So like this book has been in the making for like 10 years. And it was a course that I was doing, and it was an author who was in the course. It was a marriage counseling course I was doing. And it was the author, one of the authors who was in there, where I was talking to somebody who said that, oh, there's an author in our group, reach out to her. And when I reached out to her, she helped me to get to the editor and the publisher. When I spoke with him, he said, no, this book is not published yet. No, this book has to be on the market in the next 2 weeks. I was like, hold up. It's not as easy as you think. I mean, it takes money, which I don't have, but he helped in so many ways just to get this book out. And 2 years later, I actually have what I've been working on for so long in my hands.
That's nice, and I guess I'm bedazzled by that aspect that okay, you almost gave up, but rescue. God came to your rescue in different ways, and okay, he uplifted your spirit and say, yeah, it's possible, and you can still do it. That's super nice. And one thing I'm noting now as I'm moving towards the book, the story, it's like within this book you have documented it's your story, it's your own experiences. They are your own experiences, and you're trying to tell to the other person. You're trying to make the other person understand, okay, there are challenges in the world, but there are challenges are meant to be overcome, and there's a way that you can overcome that. And the grace of God is much in abundance, that it can help you cross that river or that war zone that you're feeling you're into right now. So maybe a little bit or much of about your book. What is the book about? What's the title? And how has your life personally inspired you to write the book?
All right, so the title of the book is HIV, My Journey Through Grace. It's my own personal testimony from as early as a child to contracting the virus and what it has been like living with the virus. What really inspired me is that I got infected at age 24, and that's a very prime age where we're drinking, we're smoking, we're having unprotected sex, we're partying, we're living the so-called what we call life, but really is not life. And I was looking for love in the wrong places, and by looking for love in the wrong places, I ended up getting infected. And I decided that with other persons encouraging me, because I wanted to be a journalist growing up, and I wanted to be a counselor. I was always fascinated with counseling. So when I was in high school, I wanted to become a peer counselor. So one of my sisters said to me, Ali, now you have the opportunity, with what you're going through, you can talk to young girls about, this and not to come down this road and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I said, you know what, the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it around for my good and for his glory. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to share my story so others won't come down this road. Right. So I say, encourage him not to come down this road. And because of the stigma and the discrimination that is out there, I'm just hoping that with me stepping out, pretty girl, pretty face, look good, people are going to be like, but she really living with this thing. But if she's living with this thing and I can accept her, then I more than likely can accept somebody else who's living with the virus. So my main reason of writing the book is just sharing my journey. A part of the book, it has information on the basic facts of HIV/AIDS, because there's a lot of misinformation that is out there, and that is where the stigma and discrimination increases because of the lack of knowledge and the misinformation that is put out there. So I wrote the book to share my journey of God's goodness, his grace, and his mercy, to encourage people not to come down this road, and to give hope to those who are living with the virus, to let them know that it is not a death sentence. There is still life after diagnosis.
That's beautiful, because one thing I note is we just learn from school. In our school days, we just learn, okay, this is how the virus does, and this is how the people would be, and how you are supposed to deal with them. And yeah, you might not get the virus just by breathing. There's those misinformation sometimes where we feel like, okay, this virus is the same as maybe the pneumonia virus, where okay, maybe if I just sit next without any doing anything, literally, you feel like you will get the virus. But I love the way that you say the book is becoming like a guide. It's like a guidebook. It's a manuscript. It's a manual for someone to understand. Okay, for people who have, they will understand. Okay, it's not the end of time. It's not like your end of the line, because still God gave you a chance to survive and move along the journey. And for people who don't have it, they understand this is the truth about it. Don't go down that journey, right? And one of the things that I'm noting is you say there's misinformation, there's stigma in our community, in our society. And what have been some of the experiences that you had that even I don't know if they are the ones which also motivated you to even write the book and put all the information, making sure you don't miss even a point. What have been just some of the practical things that today we take them for granted, but they are the things that are, ruining us, ruining our relationships, especially with the people who have contracted the virus or are sick with some form of diseases. What have been some of the challenges that you face? Because we know, let's say in class, you're told, okay, they will be isolated. They will have these things been the practical aspects that you've faced.
All right, for me, I've felt some form of discrimination, but I thank God that mine is not like others who, like, when I go to workshops and you hear the stories, you're like, wow, girl, you don't really go through it. And I have to thank God, because my family, when I disclosed to my family and close friends, everybody was loving, everybody accepted, and the care is there. In society, they don't really get that. Once somebody finds out, everybody is standoffish. They go around and they spread it to everybody else, telling them that, say, Jane Doe have it, and, they're locked up. They're, sometimes they have to move out of their own community and stuff. Right. But for me, that didn't happen to me. I got the love and the support of close friends and family. And that's what has, especially my church family. So that has motivated me to push even harder. But persons, I remember, like, there's this guy, like, that I met, and anybody who knows me, from I like you or you like me, I'm going to disclose my status to you. I'd rather hear it from me than people adding to my story out there. And one day I was calling him and I wasn't getting him. I actually went to where he was and I said, hey, I've been calling you, I can't get you. And he's like, I don't see his call. And when I picked up the phone and I called it right in front of him, it said the AIDS girl calling. I was like, what? So I have gone through discrimination, but not to the point where, as I said, other persons who have the virus, who is living with the virus, when you hear the stories, like, it's heart wrenching, very heart wrenching.
Hmm.
Right. I remember one of a family member who is in the medical field
Hmm.
said one day, when I was saying, oh, I want to come overseas and come stay. And the individual said, and this is somebody, like, I was shocked when the person said it, that, oh, if you come, we're always going to have bleach in the house, and your clothes can't wash with everybody else's own, and you can't eat out of the same pot. And I said, what? I said, are you discriminating me? No, but not saying that the food won't cook in the same pot, but you can't be eating from somebody. And I realized that, even if you're in the medical field, because some people are just not willing to learn, they just, whatever they hear other people say, they run with it. And that is what's causing this whole stigma and discrimination that is happening in the world.
I mean, it so happens that sometimes I think it happens out unconsciously, it happens automatically, that we think, let's say, if especially with these aspects of discrimination, either against race, religion, what, so on, we think that we are not that discriminative until we face the situation, and then boom, it just happens that we discriminated someone, and we didn't think before that, oh, I can never do that. I am understanding,
Right.
I am accommodating, and so on. And this
Right.
brings my thought into, what lessons have you packed for the reader in that book? Either just 3 key lessons that you have packed throughout this journey, that are even part of the many lessons in your book, and that the reader, when it will intrigue the reader to go to the last page and just see how the story unfolds, see how, life. What are the 3 key lessons that you would maybe mention to the reader, or to excite someone who hasn't read the book?
All right. My book is really for to encourage persons
Hmm.
who have lost hope. So it doesn't mean if you're HIV positive, it could be you're going through another form of illness,
Right.
or you feel like throwing in the towel. Through my own testimony, is to bring hope. So it's a message of hope, number one.
Right.
Two, to let those who are living with the virus say, listen, it's not a death sentence. When I found out that I was HIV positive, I thought it was a death sentence. I thought that all of my dreams and visions were going to die with me, right? And I am now beginning to understand that, no, Alicia, it doesn't have to die.
Right.
So my encouragement is to go back and visit those dreams, those visions, go back to life. Not because you were given what we would call it a death sentence. It's not a death sentence. It's a diagnosis, but it's how you cope with it and fight back, taking back what has been given to you, but turning it. You ever hear the saying, you are given lemons, take the lemons and turn it into lemon.
Yeah, right.
Right. The third one is just to let people know that in spite of what you're going through, it doesn't matter how bad of a situation is, there is a God that will turn things around. Once you trust him and believe him, he will turn things around for you.
Powerful. The last part is powerful, knowing that, okay, there is someone, there is a being watching over you. There's someone who created you, from nothing, and you're here, and he still gives you a chance to live. Then it comes back to the second lesson. Yeah, keep going. Difficult situation that you're in, definitely you'll still make it out, because he wishes you to make it out. He wants you to make it out. And I think now, because the people who listen to the podcast, maybe majority of them are young people, and they're living in different settings, different geographical conditions, different societal, settings. And I would just love you to give an advice to these young adults, these young people, coming, some are moving maybe out of their homes, they are going to search life, they are going to hustle very much. Some are far from their homes already, and some are still in their homes. We are all wanting to hear your lessons that you, or advice that you might give to people like us. What's the key advice there, or key advices, I would like to say?
Sure. I would love to say this, that not everything that glitter is gold.
Mm,
So uh, um in this thing, and we're going after it and we think that it is good. Because I thought that back then I was living life like, you can't talk to me. I'm living life, I'm enjoying life.
right.
Not knowing that what I thought was good for me was actually detrimental in the long run,
Right.
right? I would say seek the Lord while he may be found,
Mm,
because he's our guide to our everyday living.
right.
It is God that has kept me from a child to even living with HIV, right? So before you decide that you're going to take on life's journey,
Mm,
talk with him, fellowship with him, ask him, why am I here? What is my purpose?
mm,
Did you just create me just to be somebody in the earth, not to do anything? No. Because the
right.
thing is that if you don't know whose you are and what you are called to do, you are going to, Dr. Monroe says, if you don't understand how to use something, you're going to abuse it. So if you don't understand what your purpose is here on earth, you're
Right.
going to make a whole mess of yourself. So as I said, not everything that glitter is gold.
Yeah.
And I would say seek the Lord while he may be found, because in doing that, it is your manual to life of you understanding why he created you, why you're here, and what your purpose is, and for you to fulfill your God-given destiny and purpose to what he has called you to.
Yeah, that's useful. That's useful. Before anything else, try to seek, the kingdom of God, and everything shall be added to you. Isn't it? That's how it is.
Amen.
And so, one curious question that came into my mind as well. Have there been some, medical or
Sure.
related aspects that you have been practicing at the same time to, throughout the journey of, staying until, you're looking healthy? Nobody would know that you see. So have there been any medical advice or medical prescriptions that you've been following, and is it essential for someone to follow that as well?
Sure. And that's a very good question.
Yeah, and excuse me, I'm bringing this concept because we understand that God, at the same time, he gave us this all ample knowledge in the world for us to be able, to rule over the world, to rule over weaknesses, sicknesses, and so that's why I came up with this thought and question.
No, I'm glad that you actually asked it, because even though I'm saying God and I'm encouraging people to God gave us wisdom, and we have to use wisdom.
Right.
In my initial stage, I was on faith. I was believing God for my healing. And there were times where I decided, which I'm not encouraging anybody to do.
Right.
And the reason why I'm going to say I'm not encouraging, because it will cause problems. I was standing up believing in God for faith, and I know that God is going to heal me. So I decided off of medication at some point, standing on the word of God, believing that God is going to heal me, which he is. But at the same time, if you're not taking your ARVs and not taking it on time, not taking it properly, it's going to cause problems. You're going to weaken your immune system. Right. So it was like about 4 years ago, I was literally taking my meds properly, and I just started feeling sick. My body started rejecting the medication and stuff. And I remember when I went to the doctor, I was questioning the doctor. I said, Doc, I don't understand. When I wasn't on the medication, I wasn't going through all of this. Yeah. Now that I'm on the medication, what is happening? And I can tell you this, that, we had to change the medication and all of that, but it is a medication today that makes me look the way that I look today. And God first, but also the medication. So the ARV works. It's just that you have to find the right ARV that will work with your immune system to bring you to become undetectable. And which undetectable doesn't mean that I'm healed. It just means that I'm not able to pass on the virus to my partner.
Right. See, that's powerful, because then you create and you give the vision that, God is not limited by science, is not obscured by the lines of science, but rather He works with it. And the thing is, He gave us the knowledge to comprehend what is rightful to do, because He says, as you're in the world, obey the authorities, saying knowledge is passed on for our well-being. It's not just our spiritual being, because imagine if your body is weak, you won't be able to worship Him, isn't it? So you have to keep both sides. And I think this brings me to the aspect, or to the time that I would like to invite you as well to share about how people can get the book. How can they connect with you, hear your testimony? I personally saw your Instagram, and you were saying, I want your support for these books to reach them. You were talking about the minister of Jamaica, I think. Yeah, and you were saying, I want this to reach at least in every school and so on. So yeah, maybe this is also that opportunity where you connect with people and say, okay, if you want to get my book, this is the place. But also, I'm looking for help to get these books to more people, more readers, and yeah, you're welcome.
Right, thank you. So yes, I have made a video reaching out to the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the Minister of Health, hoping to get my books into the schools and into the clinics. Clinics, because persons who are living with the virus, as I said, some of them feel like all hope is lost. So if they can get a copy of this book into their hands, it will somewhat help them, to give them hope, and for them to take their medication, because there are many people who have the virus, and because of the stigma and the discrimination, they don't want to go and take the medication or get the proper health care. So yes, I did make the video, but if you want to get, like, persons who are outside of Jamaica, you can actually go on Amazon and type in the name Alicia Anderson and search for the book HIV, My Journey Through Grace, and you can actually order your copy, either the Kindle version or the paperback, and Amazon will surely send it to you. If you're here locally in Jamaica, you can get it at York Pharmacy, which is in Halfway Tree. My social media apps, Facebook is Alicia Anderson. On Instagram, it is Ali_rebirth_Anderson. My YouTube is Alicia Anderson 5349. And on TikTok, which is 2 accounts, is Lady Alicia Anderson and Ali_rebirth Anderson.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Amazon, it's available on Amazon as well. So guys, don't forget, if you want to read more about Alicia's story, just go to Amazon and HIV through journey through grace, and you can search her name, Alicia Anderson, and most of the links, we'll put them in the description. So remember to check it out. Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for empowering another life out there. I believe this will be impactful to someone else, and I personally got my lesson, and thank you for taking a moment to teach me, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So listeners of the podcast, thank you for being with me to this point, and thank you for joining Alicia in listening to her story. And I hope you can support her. I hope you can, grab that book, or you can converse with her if you have issues, and hopefully she will respond to you on time. Yeah, because she has been on the podcast, so she'll respond to you on time. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in today. This is episode 27, and see you in the next one. See you in the next one, where we'll talk about another book, which is also interesting. And you see that from the previous book to this book, we are having, good vibes, good energy. So I hope you enjoy. And until next time, keep growing and keep growing through grace. Thank you for tuning in.